Good evening and welcome to Tuần-san News of the Week. My name is Emma Doe. In what's making headlines this week, 10 Filipino Navy men held liable for the death of 2 Vietnamese fishermen. Footage of alleged Kim Jong Nam killer attacking a stranger shows up in court. And floods in Vietnam leave 15 dead. In this week's top story, Vietnam has called on Cambodia to guarantee the legal rights of Vietnamese migrants living in the country. The statement comes after the Cambodian government said it would revoke the invalid documents of 70,000 immigrants, most of them ethnically Vietnamese. Anti-Vietnamese sentiment is widespread in Cambodia and has often been used as a tool by opponents of Prime Minister Hun Sen, who came to power during Vietnam's occupation of Cambodia when it drove out the genocidal Khmer Rouge regime. Last week, Cambodian immigration authorities said they would seize documents deemed inappropriate or illegal from 70,000 people, but they have not yet threatened forcible removal. Responding to Vietnam, Cambodia vowed to ensure respect for legal and human rights in its enforcement of immigration laws. A stronghold of security personnel will be deployed during next month's APEC summit in Vietnam's central Da Nang city. Vietnam is promising over 1,500 special and mobile police officers, 800 traffic police officers, and more than 500 firefighters. The Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Leaders Week is slated to begin on November 6 and will bring in leaders and ministers from 21 member countries, along with some 10,000 delegations from international organisations and media. According to online newspaper VN Express, the Vietnamese Ministry of Public Security will also send nearly 50 special purpose vehicles to Da Nang, including armoured cars and vehicles used for jamming radio signals. Floods triggered by a tropical depression in Vietnam have killed 15 people and left 8 others missing. The storm hit central Vietnam on Tuesday, bringing heavy rain to the region and to parts of northern Vietnam. The Associated Press reported Vietnamese officials as saying that 8 people, including 2 children, were killed in the central province of Nghệ An. Meanwhile, others have died or gone missing in the northern provinces of Yên Bái, Thanh Hóa, and Hòa Bình. Vietnam is prone to storms and floods, which kill hundreds of people each year. 10 Filipino Navy men have been found liable for the death of 2 Vietnamese fishermen during a clash between a Vietnamese fishing boat and Filipino Navy ship in mid-September. Last month's clash occurred after Filipino Navy authorities chased and fired at a number of Vietnamese fishing boats they suspected were poaching in the South China Sea. The chase ended after a Vietnamese boat slammed into the Filipino vessel, and 2 Vietnamese fishermen were found dead with gunshot wounds. The investigation committee found that the Filipino men intended to fire warning shots, but instead accidentally hit 2 Vietnamese men who were hiding in the cargo compartment of their boat. It's not yet known what charges will be laid. The Vietnamese woman accused of killing the North Korean leader's half-brother was captured on camera pulling a similar attack on another person 2 days prior to the deadly attack. According to statements from a police investigator, 28-year-old Doang Thị Hương approached a stranger from behind and wiped his face on February 11. She then appeared to apologise, bowing her head and retreating. A member of Kuala Lumpur's Airport District Criminal Investigations Department contrasted the scene to her actions on Kim Jong Nam, telling the court that Doang's approach 2 days later was more aggressive and seemed like an attack. Doang's lawyer argued that she could not have known she was handling a deadly substance when she approached Kim. Doang and Indonesian woman Siti Aisyah both face the death penalty for their involvement in Kim's death. Both women have pleaded not guilty, telling the court they believe they were playing a prank for reality TV. The trial continues. There are fears over the health of a Vietnamese land rights activist who is currently serving an 8-year prison term on charges of subversion. The family of imprisoned activist Jong Nams told Radio Free Asia that her health was in decline inside the An Phuoc detention center in southern Vietnam's Bình Dương province. Jung has been reporting large painful tumours all over her body during family visits, and she was last sent to hospital for medical checks in September. But her family say that the medicine they've been sending her has not been administered to her correctly. Jung was first arrested 7 years ago, petitioning the government to grant compensation to those whose land they had confiscated. She was imprisoned on charges of attempting to overthrow the government, but has consistently pleaded not guilty to the charges. Vietnam Airlines and Air France have signed an agreement which will see Vietnam Airlines fly to 56 new European destinations and France reach 17 new Vietnamese destinations. The national carriers have cooperated on aircraft maintenance and crew training for 20 years, but code sharing only began in 2010. The new agreement will begin in November, with CEOs from both companies signing the agreement earlier this week. Air France first began flying to Vietnam nearly 90 years ago, offering flights that took 3 days from Marseille to Saigon. Today, Vietnam Airlines operates daily flights between Hanoi and Paris. Vietnamese-American author Viet Thanh Nguyen is one of 2 novelists who have won an $800,000 MacArthur Fellowship. Nguyen and fellow winning author Jesmyn Ward were among this year's 24 fellows, which included mathematicians, historians, computer scientists, and anthropologists. Both authors were applauded for their novels, which have explored minority communities. Nguyen's work challenges the depiction of the Vietnam War, and Ward's novels have explored African American stories in the rural South. Nguyen's novel The Sympathizer won a Pulitzer Prize in 2016, while Ward won the National Book Award in 2011 for her novel Salvage the Bones. The MacArthur Fellowship is intended to encourage people of outstanding talent to pursue their creative, intellectual, and professional desires. Pope Francis has named Vietnamese-American Father Nguyen Thai Thanh as Auxiliary Bishop for Orange Diocese in the United States. Bishop-elect Thanh will support Bishop Kevin Van of Orange and Auxiliary Bishop Timothy Freya in serving the spiritual needs of the diocese's 1.3 million Catholics, including 100,000 of Vietnamese descent. Father Thanh, who escaped religious persecution in his home country by boat, served at St. Joseph Parish of St. Augustine Diocese in Florida prior to his new appointment. He was born in 1953 in Vietnam's south-central city of Nha Trang and is the second oldest of 8 boys and 3 girls. Back to news in Australia. The annual Midautumn Festival was celebrated over the weekend in Melbourne, with locals and visitors gathering for some food, fun and entertainment. The traditional custom celebrates the brightest and fullest moon, representing peace and a time for family get-togethers. Stretched over 3 days, the CBD's Crown River Walk was filled with activities and festivities that included a parade, food stalls and eating competitions. Meanwhile, the Vietnamese hub of Footscray hosted a children's lantern festival on Saturday, with traditional lion dances, live music and lantern-making workshops. On Sunday, festival goers were treated to food from Southeast Asia, along with performances ranging from martial arts to lion and dragon dances at Dandenong Market. That's all from Tuần-san News of the Week. For more stories, you can follow Tuần-san at tvtsonline.com.au and at Facebook at Tuần-san. I'm Emma Doe, thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to your company at the same time next week.